I never thought I'd become the kind of man who sits in his garage at midnight, watching security feeds like some discount private investigator. But here I am, Leon Parker, 36 years old, logistics planner for a mid-sized shipping company, staring at grainy black and white footage of my own front door. The irony isn't lost on me. I spend my days coordinating the movement of goods across 3 states, tracking every package, every delivery, every detail. Now I'm tracking my own wife. Our neighborhood in Lakewood, just outside Cleveland, has seen better days. The row houses still have character, but the paint peels a little more each winter, and the small front yards are more weeds than grass. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business, which made the recent string of package thefts particularly annoying. That's what I told Brittany when I installed the cameras 6 weeks ago. Just temporary, I said, mounting the discreet units under our eaves, until the cops catch whoever's been stealing from porches. She barely looked up from her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard as she managed social media accounts for local influencers and small businesses. Whatever you think is best, honey. The cameras weren't really about package thieves. They were about the way Brittany had started taking calls in the bathroom with the water running. About the new workout clothes she'd bought despite never going to a gym. About how she'd suddenly developed a passion for girls' nights with friends I'd never heard her mention before. I'm not stupid. I plan logistics for a living. I notice patterns, inconsistencies, things that don't add up, and Brittany's story hadn't been adding up for months. Tonight, she's supposedly at her friend Jessica's house, helping with some social media crisis. Might be late, she'd said, kissing my cheek before heading out in those new yoga pants. You know how these influencer emergencies go? I knew Jessica. We'd had dinner with her and her husband twice. Jessica lived 40 minutes away in Westlake and had never once called Brittany for help before. The security monitor shows our empty driveway, the street lamp casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. I sip my beer and wait. In my other life, the one where I trusted my wife, I'd be asleep by now. But that Leon Parker passed away somewhere around the time I found the receipt for a hotel room in Brittany's purse. When I confronted her about it, she'd laughed. That's from the client retreat I told you about. God, Leon, you're getting paranoid. Except she'd never mentioned any client retreat. My phone buzzes, a text from Brittany. Still here. Jessica's really stressed. Might crash on her couch. I screenshot the message and save it to the growing folder on my laptop labeled Security Backup. Then I settle back in my lawn chair and keep watching. At 11:47 p.m., headlights sweep across the monitor. Brittany's silver Honda pulls into our driveway, and I lean forward. She sits in the car for several minutes, phone pressed to her ear. Even through the grainy footage, I can see her gesturing animatedly. She hangs up and gets out, but instead of heading to the front door, she walks to the end of our driveway and looks down the street. She's waiting for something, or someone. 5 minutes later, a black pickup truck parks 2 houses down. I recognize it immediately. Derek Sloan, our neighbor from 3 doors over. Married to Nina, father of 2 kids, and apparently the reason my wife has been lying to me for months. Derek jogs up to our house, and Brittany meets him at the front door. They don't embrace or kiss where the cameras can see them. Smart. But the way she touches his arm, the way he leans close to whisper something in her ear, tells me everything I need to know. They disappear inside, and I watch Brittany's silhouette move past the living room window to draw the curtains. I sit in the darkness of my garage, the security monitor casting blue light across my face, and I don't feel angry. I don't feel hurt. I feel something much more dangerous. I feel calculating. The next morning, I wake up before my alarm and lie still, listening to Brittany shower. She's humming, which she only does when she's particularly happy. I wonder if she's thinking about Derek, about whatever happened in our living room after the cameras lost sight of them. I get dressed for work and make coffee, playing the role of oblivious husband. When Brittany comes downstairs in her robe, hair wrapped in a towel, I hand her a mug. "How's Jessica doing?" I ask. "Better, thanks for asking." She doesn't meet my eyes. "Sorry I stayed so late. You know how it is." "Of course, I'm just glad you could help." She smiles and kisses my cheek, and I smell Derek's cologne on her skin. It's faint, but I know that scent because Nina Sloan mentioned once that she bought it for Derek's birthday. At work, I sit in my cubicle surrounded by shipping manifests and delivery schedules, but my mind is elsewhere. I'm planning something much more complex than moving freight from point A to point B. I start with research. Derek Sloan works as a personal trainer at a high-end gym downtown. He's 38, married for 12 years, drives a leased pickup truck, and according to social media, enjoys craft beer and weekend fishing trips. His wife, Nina, works part-time as a dental hygienist and volunteers at their kids' school. They seem normal, happy even, which makes Derek's decision to screw around with my wife particularly interesting. I create a new email account and start documenting everything. Screenshots of Brittany's texts, timestamps from the security footage, photos of receipts I find in her purse. I'm building a case, gathering evidence like I'm preparing for trial. Because in a way, I am. That evening, Brittany announces she's going to a networking event downtown. "Might run late again," she says, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. "Don't wait up." I nod and wish her luck, then settle into my garage command center to watch the show. This time, Derek arrives first. He parks in our driveway like he belongs there, walks up to our front door like he owns the place. When Brittany gets home 20 minutes later, she doesn't even pretend she's been at a networking event. She goes straight to him. I record everything. The way Derek's hands roam over her body before they're even inside. The way Brittany presses him against our front door, the same door I painted last spring. The way they disappear into my house like I don't exist. But I do exist. And I'm watching. Over the next 2 weeks, I establish their pattern. Tuesday and Thursday nights, always the same routine. Brittany creates elaborate lies about work emergencies or friend drama. Derek tells Nina he's going to the gym for late training sessions. They meet at our house and pretend they're invisible. I learn other things too. Derek's gym is struggling financially. He's behind on his truck payments. Nina has been asking questions about his late nights, according to neighborhood gossip I overhear at the corner store. Most importantly, I learn that Derek and Brittany are getting careless. They're texting each other constantly now, leaving digital footprints everywhere. Brittany's phone buzzes during dinner, and she smiles at messages I'm not supposed to see. She thinks I'm stupid. They both do. That's their first mistake. The thing about logistics is that everything connects to everything else. Change one variable, and the entire system shifts. Remove one component, and the whole structure can collapse. People are the same way. I start with the neighbors. Our street has one of those informal communication networks that suburban neighborhoods develop over time. Mrs. Patterson at the corner house knows everyone's business. The Johnsons across the street notice every car that doesn't belong. The Kowalskis next door have lived here for 30 years and remember when this was a respectable neighborhood. I don't spread gossip directly. I'm smarter than that. Instead, I plant seeds. "Have you noticed how many late-night visitors we've been getting lately?" I mentioned to Mrs. Patterson while checking my mailbox. "I'm wondering if we should bring it up at the next HOA meeting." "Derek Sloan's truck was in your driveway pretty late Tuesday night," Mr. Johnson tells me over the fence. "Thought maybe you had some kind of emergency." "No emergency," I say. "Must have been visiting someone else." But the seed is planted. Mr. Johnson starts paying attention. I research our HOA bylaws and discover something interesting. Section 4.7 prohibits activities that disturb the peace and quiet enjoyment of neighboring properties. Section 6.2 requires homeowners to maintain community standards of behavior. Adultery might not be illegal, but it's definitely against HOA rules. Meanwhile, Brittany grows bolder. She stops creating elaborate excuses and simply announces she's going out. She starts receiving flowers at the house, claiming they're from grateful clients. She buys new lingerie and leaves the tags where I'll find them. She wants me to know. Part of her wants to get caught. I'm happy to oblige. On a Thursday night, after Derek's truck has been in our driveway for 2 hours, I take a walk around the neighborhood. I stop to chat with the Kowalskis, who are sitting on their front porch. "Quiet evening," I say. "Except for all the coming and going at your place," Mrs. Kowalski replies. She's 83 and sees everything. "That Sloan boy's been spending a lot of time there lately." "Derek? Really? I've been working late all week, haven't seen him." The look that passes between Mr. and Mrs. Kowalski tells me everything I need to know. They've figured it out. "You might want to pay more attention to what's happening in your own house," Mrs. Kowalski says gently. I thank her for the advice and continue my walk, knowing that by tomorrow morning, half the neighborhood will know that Leon Parker is either the most oblivious husband in Lakewood or the most patient man alive. The next day, I call in sick to work and spend the morning at a coffee shop downtown, using their Wi-Fi to research private investigators and divorce attorneys. Not because I plan to hire them, but because I want to understand how they operate. I learn about asset protection, evidence documentation, and something called strategic disclosure. I learn that the timing of revelations can be just as important as the revelations themselves. Most importantly, I learn that the best revenge isn't always immediate. Sometimes it's methodical. That afternoon, I visit 3 banks and open new accounts, transferring funds gradually to avoid triggering any automatic notifications to Brittany. I change passwords on all our shared accounts, update my direct deposit information, and make copies of every important document we own. I'm not just gathering evidence anymore. I'm preparing for war. When Brittany comes home that evening, she finds me in the living room, reading a book about project management. "How was work?" she asks. "Productive? How was your day?" "Fine. Busy." She sits beside me on the couch, the same couch where she entertained Derek 2 nights ago. "Leon, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you think we're happy?" The question catches me off guard, but I don't let it show. "What do you mean?" "I mean, do you think we're really happy together? Or are we just going through the motions?" I close my book and look at her. Really look at her. She's still beautiful, still the woman I married 6 years ago. But there's something different in her eyes now. Something that wasn't there before Derek Sloan started parking in our driveway. "I think happiness is a choice," I say. "I think it requires both people to choose it every day." She nods slowly. "What if one person stops choosing it? Then the other person has to decide what they're willing to accept." We sit in silence for a moment, and I wonder if this is her attempt at a confession. If she's trying to tell me the truth without actually saying the words. But then her phone buzzes, and she glances at it with that familiar smile, and I know she's not confessing anything. She's testing me, seeing how much I'll tolerate before I break. She has no idea that I broke weeks ago. Now I'm just deciding how to put the pieces back together. 3 weeks later, I'm ready. I've documented 17 secret meetings between Brittany and Derek. I've traced their text messages, mapped their lies, and built a timeline that would make a prosecutor weep with joy. I've separated our finances, secured our important documents, and researched every legal option available to me. But most importantly, I've learned something about Derek Sloan that changes everything. He's not just cheating on his wife, he's stealing from his employer. It takes me 2 days of careful investigation to confirm what I suspected when I noticed his expensive new watch and the way he paid cash for dinner at a restaurant I followed them to. Derek has been skimming money from his personal training clients, charging their credit cards for sessions that never happened, and pocketing the difference. It's not a huge amount, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 over 6 months. But it's enough to get him fired and possibly arrested. More importantly, it's enough to destroy the life he's built with Nina and their kids. That's when I realize Derek isn't just an adulterer, he's desperate. And desperate people make dangerous decisions. The confrontation happens on a Tuesday night. Brittany tells me she's attending a client emergency meeting and will be home late. Derek's truck appears in our driveway at 8:15 p.m., right on schedule. But this time, I'm not watching from my garage. This time, I'm waiting in our living room when they walk through the front door. "Hello, Brittany. Derek." They freeze in the doorway like deer caught in headlights. Brittany's face goes white. Derek's hand moves instinctively to his pocket, where I assume he keeps his phone. "Leon," Brittany stammers, "I thought you were working late." I was, but I finished early and decided to come home to my wife. I stand up slowly, keeping my voice calm. Imagine my surprise. Derek finds his voice first. "Look, man, this isn't what it looks like." "Really? What does it look like?" "It's complicated," Brittany says. She's recovered from the initial shock and is shifting into damage control mode. "Leon, we need to talk." I agree. "But first, Derek, I think you should leave." Derek looks at Brittany, then back at me. He's bigger than I am, probably stronger, but there's something in my voice that makes him hesitate. "Actually," I continue, "before you go, I have something for you." I pick up a manila envelope from the coffee table and hand it to him. Derek opens it with shaking hands and pulls out printed screenshots of his text messages with Brittany, photos of them together, and copies of the financial records I've compiled showing his theft from the gym. "What the hell is this?" he whispers. "Insurance," I say. "I know about the money you've been stealing, Derek. I know about the fake training sessions, the skimmed credit card charges, all of it. I also know that Nina doesn't know about any of this yet." Brittany grabs the papers from Derek's hands. "You've been spying on us?" "I've been protecting myself," which, as it turns out, was a smart decision. Derek's face has gone red. "You can't prove anything." "Actually, I can. I have bank records, client testimonials, security footage from the gym showing you there alone during times you claimed to be training people. I have everything." The room falls silent except for the sound of Brittany's rapid breathing. She's reading through the documents, seeing the extent of my investigation for the first time. "What do you want?" Derek asks. "I want you to leave my house and never come back. I want you to stop contacting my wife, and I want you to think very carefully about what happens next." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm explaining consequences. You're a thief and an adulterer. Those are facts. What I do with those facts depends entirely on how you behave going forward." Derek looks like he wants to hit me, but the papers in Brittany's hands have changed the equation. He's not just dealing with a cuckolded husband anymore. He's dealing with someone who can destroy his entire life. "This is blackmail," Brittany says. "This is documentation. Blackmail would be if I demanded money or favors in exchange for my silence. I'm not demanding anything except honesty." Derek snatches the papers back from Brittany. "I'm keeping these. Those are copies. I have the originals in a safe place, along with instructions for their distribution if anything happens to me." The threat hangs in the air like smoke. Derek understands what I'm saying. If he tries to hurt me, if he tries to intimidate me, the evidence goes to his wife, his employer, and the police automatically. "You're insane," Brittany whispers. "I'm thorough. There's a difference." Derek crumples the papers and throws them on the floor. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet." He storms out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Brittany and I stand in our living room, 6 feet apart, staring at each other across a gulf that's been growing for months. "How long have you known?" she asks. "Long enough." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to be sure, and because I wanted to be ready." She sits down heavily on the couch, her head in her hands. "What happens now?" "That depends on you." "What do you mean?" "I mean you have a choice to make. You can end this thing with Derek and try to fix our marriage, or you can leave. But you can't have both." She looks up at me with tears in her eyes. "It's not that simple." It's exactly that simple. You chose to betray me. Now you choose what comes next. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. And now we deal with the consequences. She wipes her eyes and straightens her shoulders. And if I choose Derek? Then you choose Derek without me, without this house, and without the comfortable life we built together. I've already moved our assets to accounts you can't access. I've already documented everything you've done. You'll get what the law says you deserve and nothing more. The woman sitting on my couch isn't the woman I married. That woman wouldn't have betrayed me. That woman wouldn't have brought another man into our home. That woman is gone, and I'm finally ready to admit it. You've changed, she says. Yes, I have. The question is whether you're going to change too, or whether you're going to keep making the same mistakes. She doesn't answer, and I know that silence is an answer all by itself. Brittany chooses Derek. She doesn't say it directly, but her actions over the next week make her decision clear. She starts staying out all night without explanation. She stops wearing her wedding ring. She brings Derek back to the house twice more, despite my warnings. She thinks I'm bluffing about the evidence. She thinks I don't have the courage to follow through on my threats. She's wrong about that too. On Friday morning, I take a personal day and drive to 3 locations. First, I visit Derek's gym and request a meeting with the owner, a middle-aged woman named Carol, who built the business from nothing over 15 years. I show her the evidence of Derek's theft, laid out in a neat presentation folder with bank records, client statements, and security footage timestamps. Carol's face grows darker with each page she reads. "How did you discover this?" she asks. "Derek has been having an affair with my wife. During my investigation, I uncovered the financial irregularities." Carol nods slowly. "I've had suspicions, but no proof. This is very thorough work." Derek is scheduled to work this afternoon. I'd suggest having security present when you confront him. "What do you want in return for this information?" "Nothing. I just believe you have a right to know what your employee has been doing." My second stop is Derek's house. Nina answers the door with a smile that fades when she sees my expression. "Leon, is everything okay?" "I need to talk to you about Derek." She invites me in, offers coffee, and listens quietly as I explain what I've discovered. I show her the photos, the text messages, the timeline of lies Derek has told her about working late. Nina doesn't cry. She doesn't scream. She just sits at her kitchen table, studying the evidence with the same methodical attention I used to gather it. "How long?" she asks. "About 3 months that I can prove. Maybe longer." "And Brittany?" "Has made her choice." Nina nods and closes the folder. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to file for divorce and move on with my life." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to call my lawyer." My third stop is the office of James Morrison, the attorney I've been consulting with for 2 weeks. He reviews the divorce papers one final time, confirms that everything is in order, and arranges for service. "Your wife will be served tomorrow morning," he says. "Are you prepared for her reaction?" "I'm prepared for anything." That evening, Brittany comes home at 11 p.m., smelling like Derek's cologne and carrying takeout from the restaurant where they had dinner. She finds me in the living room, reading the same project management book. "We need to talk," she says. "About what?" "About us. About our future." I close the book and look at her. "What future?" "Leon, I know you're angry, but we can work through this. We can go to counseling, take a vacation, start over." "You want to start over?" "Yes, I want to try." "What about Derek?" She hesitates for just a moment, but it's long enough. "Derek was a mistake. A stupid, selfish mistake. But it's over." "When did it end?" "Tonight. I told him we couldn't see each other anymore." It's a lie, of course. Derek's truck was in our driveway 3 hours ago. But I don't contradict her. There's no point. "I'm glad to hear that," I say, "because Derek's going to have other things to worry about soon." "What do you mean?" "I mean his wife knows about the affair. His employer knows about the money he's been stealing. And by tomorrow morning everyone else will know too. Brittany's face goes white. You didn't. I did. I told you there would be consequences. Leon, you don't understand. Derek isn't stable. When he gets angry, he does crazy things. What kind of crazy things? He has a temper. He's threatened people before. If you've ruined his life, he'll come after you. For the first time in months, Brittany sounds genuinely concerned about my welfare. It's ironic that it takes the threat of violence from her lover to make her care about her husband's safety. Let me worry about Derek, I say. You should worry about yourself. What does that mean? It means you'll understand tomorrow. She tries to get more information out of me, but I've said all I'm going to say. Eventually, she gives up and goes to bed. I stay in the living room until I hear her breathing change to the deep rhythm of sleep. Then I go to my garage and watch the security monitors one last time. At 2:17 a.m., Derek's truck appears on the screen. But instead of parking in our driveway, he stops across the street. He sits there for 20 minutes, engine running, staring at our house. I can't see his face clearly, but his body language tells me everything I need to know. He's deciding whether to do something stupid. Finally, he drives away. I save the footage and add it to my files. Then I pour myself a drink and wait for morning. Saturday arrives with a knock on our door at 8:30 a.m. Brittany answers it in her bathrobe and returns to the kitchen holding a legal envelope. What is this? She asks, though her voice suggests she already knows. Divorce papers. She opens the envelope with shaking hands and reads the first page, then the second. Then she looks at me with something I've never seen in her eyes before. Fear. You're taking everything. I'm taking what I'm entitled to. The house is in my name. The savings accounts are from money I earned. The car payments come from my salary. You're entitled to half of what we accumulated during the marriage, minus what you spent on your affair. You can't prove I spent money on Derek. Hotel rooms, dinners, clothes, gifts. I have receipts for all of it, Brittany. I've been tracking every dollar you spent for 3 months. She sits down at the kitchen table and reads through the entire document. It's thorough, detailed, and completely legal. She gets half of our shared assets, but after accounting for marital debt and her affair-related expenses, it's not much. This is vindictive. This is accurate. I need a lawyer. You should definitely get one. She's about to respond when her phone rings. The caller ID shows Derek's name and she answers without thinking. Derek? What's wrong? I can't hear his words, but I can hear his tone. He's shouting. Brittany's face grows pale as she listens. Slow down, she says. What do you mean they fired you? More shouting. The police? Derek, what are you talking about? She looks at me with dawning horror as Derek explains what happened at the gym yesterday afternoon. Security footage, missing money, terminated employment, criminal charges pending. Nina knows, she whispers into the phone. She knows everything. Derek's response is loud enough for me to hear clearly. This is all your husband's fault. I'm going to ruin him. Brittany hangs up and stares at me. He's coming here. I figured he might. Leon, you don't understand. Derek has guns. He's not rational when he's angry. Then maybe you should leave. I'm not leaving you here alone. Why not? You've been leaving me alone for months. She flinches like I've slapped her. That's not fair. Nothing about this situation is fair, Brittany, but it's real, and we have to deal with it. 20 minutes later, Derek's truck screeches into our driveway. He slams the door hard enough to crack the window and storms up to our house. I'm waiting on the front porch when he arrives. You snake, he snarls. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just documented it. Nina's taking the kids. She's filing for divorce. I lost my job. The police want to arrest me. Those sound like consequences for your choices. Derek's hands are shaking with rage. You think you're so smart, don't you? I think I'm thorough. Where's Brittany? Inside, packing. Packing for what? For wherever she's going to live now that our marriage is over. Derek looks confused. What are you talking about? I'm talking about divorce papers. I'm talking about Brittany having to choose between her comfortable life with me and her exciting life with you. Guess which one she chose? You're lying. Ask her yourself. Derek pushes past me and storms into the house. I follow, curious to see how this plays out. He finds Brittany in our bedroom, folding clothes into a suitcase. The divorce papers are spread across our bed like evidence at a crime scene. What is this? Derek demands. Leon filed for divorce. So? We can be together now? Brittany looks up at him with tired eyes. With what money, Derek? You just lost your job. I'm about to lose everything. How exactly are we going to be together? We'll figure it out. How? You're about to be arrested. Your wife is taking your kids. I'm getting divorced and losing my house. What kind of life is that? Derek stares at her like she's speaking a foreign language. I thought you loved me. I thought I did too. But love doesn't pay rent, Derek. Love doesn't replace the life I'm giving up. So that's it? You're just going to abandon me? I'm being realistic. Derek turns to me with murder in his eyes. This is your fault. All of it. No, Derek. This is your fault. You chose to steal money. You chose to cheat on your wife. You chose to pursue a married woman. I just chose to stop pretending I didn't know about it. I'm going to destroy you. With what? You have no job, no money, no credibility, and no allies. Your wife hates you. Your kids will grow up ashamed of you. The woman you threw your life away for is walking out on you. What exactly are you going to destroy me with? Derek's face turns purple with rage. For a moment, I think he might actually try to hit me. But then he looks around our bedroom, at Brittany packing her things, at the divorce papers that represent the end of everything he thought he wanted, and something breaks inside him. He starts to cry. Not just tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. The kind of crying that comes from losing everything at once and realizing it's your own fault. Brittany stops packing and stares at him. I think she's going to comfort him, but instead, she just shakes her head. I can't do this, she says. I can't be responsible for fixing your life, Derek. I have to figure out my own. She zips up her suitcase and walks past both of us without another word. A few minutes later, I hear her car start and pull out of the driveway. Derek and I stand in my bedroom listening to the sound of his dreams driving away. She's really gone, he whispers. Yes. What am I going to do? You're going to face the consequences of your actions. You're going to deal with the police, the divorce, the loss of your children's respect. You're going to learn what it costs to betray the people who trusted you. And then what? And then you're going to rebuild your life into something better, or you're going to spend the rest of it feeling sorry for yourself. That's up to you. Derek wipes his eyes and looks at me with something that might be respect. How did you know? Know what? That she would choose security over love. Because I know Brittany. I knew her before you did, and I knew her better than you did. You fell in love with the woman she pretended to be. I married the woman she actually is. Derek nods slowly and heads for the door. Then he stops and turns back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there were consequences. But you're not sorry you did it, because if you could do it again without getting caught, you would. Derek doesn't argue, because we both know I'm right. After he leaves, I walk through my empty house and assess the damage. Broken trust, broken marriage, broken illusions about the woman I thought I knew, but also freedom, truth, and the satisfaction of knowing that I didn't just survive betrayal. I won. I pour myself a drink and sit in my garage, looking at the security monitors that started this whole thing. The screens show an empty driveway, a quiet street, and a neighborhood that will be talking about Derek and Brittany's scandal for months to come. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for telling me the truth, Nina. I smile and delete the message. Then I start planning my next move, because